Cannot wait for you to hear from my friend and friend of the show, Chris Carneal. He's back. He's got a great new book. Several of you have commented and reached out about his original podcast. What an incredible leader that leads by example. And I'm so excited for you to hear this conversation about the virtue-driven business. Here's my friend Chris. Welcome to Market Mavericks. I'm Matthew Efird. Join me as I speak with leaders who are redefining industries in every corner of the market. From startups to established businesses, we'll uncover the strategies, challenges, and insights that drive success. Get ready to be inspired by the Mavericks who are shaping the future of business. Welcome, everybody, to the Pillars of Purpose podcast powered by Lighting Pros. I'm your host, Matthew Efird, and I have a returning guest, a friend of the show, dear friend of mine, Chris Carneal. I'm so excited to have you, Chris, with Boost, and thank you for joining the show again. For those who may have missed your initial episode, if you're just real briefly introduce yourself, but I want to know the book that you wrote. Let's dive in there.
Yeah, Matthew, thanks for having me. My name is Chris Carneal. I've been married for 24 years. I got 4 kids. I live in Metro Atlanta. I'm a founder of my business, and I say founder. I'm CEO also, but I resonate with founder. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an innovator. I'm a risk taker. I like 0 to 1. I'm a big Atlanta Braves baseball fan. Coach my boys at baseball. I grew up in South Florida originally. Still have some family back there. But I've been in Atlanta for now 21 years. And my company, Booster, we're best known by our core product called the Boosterthon Fun Run. And if any listeners have ever participated in or sponsored or given, we're the nation's largest school fundraising company. We host fitness fun runs that are all-inclusive for all students. And that's led to color runs, glow runs, the fit games, dance-a-thons, all kinds of fun ways.
When we're recording this in spring of 26, what is the date of profit you have raised for schools since founding? What is that?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because last month we just hit a big milestone. After 25 school years, we have raised 4 schools, school profit back to schools, $1 billion. Really, really proud of that.
That is unbelievable, Chris.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Second to federal and state governments. It's all the generosity of parents. We're just a conduit, but we're proud to remind and encourage sponsors and donors to give to their schools. And we're glad to play a small part in a really big opportunity to help students and communities.
I love that. So in your role as a founder, as a leader, as a visionary, one of the things that you do is you help coach. And you obviously, you said you coach your son's baseball teams, but you also help coach other leaders, and you do that through Virtue Voices. That's how you and I've connected with our mutual friend of the podcast, Barry Lusk. But when you wrote a book, and I'm very excited for it, can you tell us where did that come from?
Well, believe it or not, it's called The Virtue-Driven Business.
Okay.
I'm ideating right now on my second one, The Virtue-Driven Leader. And then to follow, Virtue-Driven Culture, and maybe even Virtue-Driven Family.
Cool.
The idea of virtue-driven, I'm holding it right now. It is, you can read this book in one plane flight in a little over an hour. It literally will fit in your back pocket. It's a mini book, a power book. It's good for type A ADD people that want to never quite get to page 400. I thought, let me just cut the fluff and condense it all down. And I actually didn't. I for years been encouraged to or thought about writing a book to share ideas and thoughts and things that I've learned. But my mom was a college professor for 35 years and a big book reader, and I was a little paralyzed by the thought of do I just need to lock myself in a room for 3 months and come down from the mountain with the tablets and I'm like, oh gosh, that's so detailed. That's a lot of follow through. I'm a founder, not a follow througher. So I thought, I don't know, I'll push this off a year or two. Well, I gave a talk to a group of leaders about a year ago, and I recorded it on my phone. My wife said, "Oh, you're doing something new. I can't be there. Can you just record it and I'll listen to it?" Sweet and encouraging of my wife, as always. So I did, and a couple of my friends in the audience were like, "That's it. You nailed it. You've been talking about culture and what the true meaning of work and vocation is, the idea of virtue, and a couple of visuals around it really kind of stuck. That's your first book. I'm like, well, good news. I recorded it. So let me just transcribe it. So I transcribed it. I'm like, okay, wait a second. So for me, just a formula for someone that might be wired as an extrovert talker more than a sit down, quiet writer. By the way, I really respect people and friends of mine that can just sit down with a blank sheet of paper and start going. I got to talk in order to think.
Sure.
And that's just the way I'm wired. So I looked down, like, well, here it is. Here's 30 pages right here. And so then I started to just kind of do a little bit of writing a book's math. You can't have a 40-page chapter 1 and a 3-page chapter 2.
Sure.
So you got to space it out, change up some things. But that kind of got me halfway there, just giving a talk and recording it, and then just saying transcribed and printing it out. So that helped. But the reason I wrote it literally was, you know what? This is really good stuff that I want my team, my employees of Booster, to really understand. I talk about this stuff all the time. I need another medium just to communicate it, especially to new hires, some of which I'll never meet. I mean, we have team members that live in 30 states. We work with schools in 50 states. So, we might hire a part-time team member in Seattle. Well, they're still representing our company, our brand, serving our clients. So I might never meet them. And of course, I want to reproduce leaders that can reproduce leaders and drive down the virtues and DNA of our company to everybody. But having a book from the founder, literally in their welcome to Booster box, that includes, here's who we are, and here's your uniform, and here's a note from me, and here's my book. So my target audience, which I think is key to define your target audience, my target audience was a team member of mine that I never had the chance to meet in person, or might not for a season. So that helps. I was writing to a person, literally a team member in Seattle. And that helped me just kind of get things started.
And just to clarify for someone who may have missed your first podcast, when you say a team member, you're in 30 states, over 1,000 team members, correct?
Yeah, about 900 team members. We work in all 50 states. Team members live all over.
So just for our audience perspective, just to remind themselves when they're looking at, like, how do you not know a team member when you have hundreds of team members and you're hiring seasonal team members? It happens, right?
Sure.
So I love the clarity that you gave there of who this person was for. So you have it for your team members now. Now where has it gone?
So sent it not just to new team members. I sent it to every team member. I did something, I think by accident, but as an entrepreneur, it made a lot of sense. I self-published in-house 3,000 copies. I gave them to everybody. Again, it's for my team. We're done. Then I talked to a few publishers as I figured out where I would want to buy this book.
Sure.
Choice Books is on, if you ever go to the airport, it's like kind of that inspirational reading inside airport stores are everywhere. So contacted a friend of mine at Choice Books. Another friend of mine's an author that writes for them some. I thought this should be there. So I connected to him. He's like, well, great. Well, let's make some edits. Let's take this to 2.0. And I'm really glad I had the first. Now, if you read both copies, the galley copy of sorts and then the current copy, you probably wouldn't tell too many differences, but I got to refresh a couple stories, definitely correct some grammar.
Sure.
Just literally go through every word and thought, when I originally said that I wrote that, now that I've read it through the eyes of other people and gotten some feedback and then sent it to people and said, just punch some holes in this. And I had team members say, this is a good story, but have you heard of this other story that really emphasizes this?
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that.
Better one. So,
yeah.
Constant iteration. There's a lot of pressure. Like, I got to publish this thing once and for all versus let me do a small galley copy of sorts and then get some feedback. So it'll be on Amazon, hopefully in the next 30 days, and be at Choice Books in the late spring.
And so your perspective is around the idea that this is going to get into airports because, again, like you said, you can read it on a short flight, correct?
Yes. Yep. And you can buy it everywhere. It'll be on all the Amazon
and so now your audience has grown beyond just your team. It's now who is the audience for this book?
People that value doing business, commerce, or vocation the right way for the flourishing of others in order to change the world, to make a difference for the good of community and society. That people that say, I've had a thought that my personal values, for me, I would say my faith, but for others, maybe their values that, that's not disconnected from what I do every day. In fact, it should be totally integrated. Sure. So how do I integrate my business of everyday work with the values, virtues, or principles that I hold dear. So a CEO, of course, or an entrepreneur that's thinking through creating a company or in charge of a company, you don't have to have one set of priorities and principles on Sunday morning, but then they totally change on, Monday in the middle of a sales meeting or an HR meeting or strategic planning session. To me, the idea of virtue and the word virtue specifically is really, I like, sometimes you use words like, I don't know if I like this word more and more.
Sure.
Because people that share my faith perspective would say, oh, I love that. I can see, in scripture that like this is a better way to live.
Yeah.
But people that are of different faiths or of no faith in my company or my friends or outside that don't share my specific faith view, everyone I've ever talked to, Matthew, says virtue is good for society.
Yeah. Amen.
Like, regardless of politics, worldview, religion, where you live, the idea of virtuous living and principles that call us to be our best selves. And we know we never have one day that we live up to our own standards or our own ideals. But can I live and work in such a way that I'm making progress towards an ideal goal that's not just good for me, but good for society, good for those that I work with and live with and in my community.
I love that. And so when you're helping an organization, when you're coaching them along this, when you see it from your organization, Booster, when you implemented this, right? I know there was iterations. We talked about it in our first conversation about 4 core values to the virtues that you established. Is there any advice when you're looking to a small business owner that's heard this that says, I want to do that, but that will shake the boat a lot, right? That will rock the boat. People will fall off. We're moving in a direction that we want to go, but I don't want to be so dramatic that everybody on my team leaves. Can you speak to that person that has those fears?
Sure. Well, change is a fear. Anytime there's any kind of change, there's kind of some internal defense system that pops up. Why are we changing? What's in it for me? Are we getting better or worse? I think if you unpack that the intent of the heart and of the refresh of sorts or the revamp is to better explain who we are, to deepen our best core qualities. I think any conversation you have with a team member, hey, I love who we are as an organization. I want our organization to get better. I want our culture to get healthier. Sure. I want us to be more holistic. I want us to have more transferable personal to professional values and skills. Most people say, well, cool. If the organization gets better, if our talent pool gets better, if I get better, then I'm all for that. So I think the upgrade or the change is really, we're going to use some different words to better describe who we are.
I love that.
As an organization.
Yeah,
I mean, a story, sometimes you could tell the same story, but if you tell it better, it feels like a more enjoyable story. So virtues is the way that I can tell the story of our business in a better narrative that is deeper and calls me to a higher level.
I love that, the reframing of that, right? It's a perspective shift that you give to yourself and to your team. Now, help the audience that's looking at this and they say, we've got core values on the wall, right? We've got 4, we've got 5, we've got 10, whatever it may be. Hopefully it's not 10, but they've got a handful, but they're not, they just kind of put them up there. Maybe it was in a short staff meeting and they're like, hey, why don't we come up with some fancy slogan, whatever it may be. They're not really living those out.
Sure.
Help coach us through that process. How do we find the heartbeat of who our organization is or wants to be? Sure. How do we define that down into some specific virtues? And then how do we implement those? So that's kind of a 3-part question.
Yeah, great question. It's nuanced for every organization and for every leader inside the organization. If you're the founder and you're the only employee, you could do it tomorrow morning.
Yes, sir.
If you're the CEO of a bigger company, you probably should think it through a little bit. There's a little bit of change management. You're rolling out a new product internally. So think of it like a product or service for a client, but your client is your team. So how would you intentionally sell a client on a new service? Well, you'd find out what they currently have. You'd ask questions about what their needs and pain points and challenges are. And then you'd offer a solution that ultimately creates value for them. And so I think that's the external perspective. We're all selling a product or service one way or another. Well, I'm doing the same thing internally. So I addressed my team as, hey, I came up with these 4 values when it was literally just me and my wife, and they served us incredibly well. In fact, you're going to still see these same 4 values when I refresh them, but I'm going to go from values to 6 virtues. You'll still see hints of them, but this is a better way to express them, a better story, a more true and beautiful story that I can tell that your heart will resonate with, like mine resonates with. And at the end of the day, if whoever the leader is, if they can't get passionate about the upgrade, then don't do it. Just wait till next year, 2 years from now.
Great advice.
Don't just do it to do it. Who cares? At the end of the day, I think people saw that this got my heart excited.
Okay.
I was more enthusiastic about it. I started to lead a little differently, ask better questions. It brought out the best in me. And I think they saw, well, man, I don't know if I believe it yet, but I know he believes it. And once they granted me that trust and confidence, then it was just a matter of time till team members started to see that these 6 virtues are a better way to describe distinctively who we are and who we want to be.
I love that. And so if you haven't been to Chris's place in Atlanta, it's amazing. You host several events there, which is incredibly generous of y'all to do. And your virtues are posted all over the building, right? I think it's incredible that you've done that to put it in front of people. Yeah. Talk us through, I don't want to make the assumption, but give us the feedback around hiring, firing. These are the mantelpiece of your organization. We vet people as they come into the organization. This has changed our interview process. This has changed our our team management process. This has changed our disciplinary process. Can you kind of give us that perspective as well?
Sure. We have a welcome to Booster box that we send to every team member the day they're hired. And inside it is not only my book and their uniform and a note from me and a gift card, but it's also a different icon for each virtue. An example, we have the virtue of wisdom. So everyone gets a wisdom journal, not just a notebook, but we have custom designed. Again, it's a couple years into this experiment here.
Yeah, sure.
So no one has to do this tomorrow morning, but like, I love the idea that people have notebooks and take notes in a digital world. It communicates curiosity and humility to a client. So, but we designed one that's not just blank pages. The first 30 pages are actually some charts, some graphs, some questions, kind of a curated, this is how Booster thinks about goal setting,
cool.
Yearly planning. So we have taken an icon of sorts and try to craft and create something as a gift that every person can tangibly have. We have a virtues t-shirt. I'm wearing right now a virtue wristband. It's fully integrated into who we are, into our uniform, our visuals, things we use every day. So people feel a sense of the identity of who we are and want to be.
And how long did it take you to get there? Just for, again, someone who's listening to this that says, this is incredible, but I feel the burden of I've got to do this tomorrow. This doesn't happen overnight. Can you kind of give us that playbook?
I got so excited early on. It took my business partner, Steven, saying, hang on, let's not roll this out in 3 months. Let's wait a year. Sit on it, talk about it, sell it internally, really get the right stories and narratives, and then let's plan it and launch it the right way, like a product.
Cool.
Back to the idea of a product launch. I got a great idea. I mean, that happens to me every day. I'm like, this is it. Start selling it. Well, hang on.
The same way. Yeah.
What are the unintended consequences? Let me kind of get this in the user's hands for a little bit. So I brought together my executive team, talked about it with them, helped me redefine here's our 6 virtues. Even before that, I had a team of about 4, and they convinced me that, it needed to be this one and not this one. Here's a better way to say it. Let's use grit instead of just perseverance or persistence. That's a better word. Here's why. I mean, words matter. Words shape culture. So spend some time thinking about it. Write it on a notepad, put it in your back pocket, and just sit on it for 3 months or 6 months. And then think, when is the opportune time to launch this? Like a product launch, but for your team. And we chose our annual gathering in summer of 2019. And I did it in a cool way where we had a 3-day gathering. So I revealed 2 different virtues every day.
Nice. Yeah, cool.
And I had a whole small but 15-minute talk around each one, and then even a visual around each one, something we did just to kind of bring it to life and make it experiential. People remember what you say, but they really remember what you or how you make them feel. So I wanted people to feel each virtue.
Sure.
So I remember being in the conference room talking about client care. Care is one of our virtues. And then, the doors are open and we have people coming in with trays like, hey, here's sodas and here's drinks. So like, wow, we feel cared for. Kind of surprise and delight moments to make it pop.
Cool.
So think through, how can I make it an experience Now that's only a singular moment. You got to have a lot of long tail stuff.
Sure.
But if you don't have the singular moment, the pebble in the water in the lake, you got to start sending out the ripples. And so people thought, wow, Chris is passionate about this. This is exciting. I can get behind this.
And so how has it transformed since, now going on 7 years since that time? What does it look like as you've made iterations to it?
We find new ways to integrate it, new ways
Okay.
to talk about it.
Okay.
Home office call on Monday morning for 15 minutes. We pick a different virtue. We highlight someone that displayed that virtue that week.
Nice.
We have the virtue awards at the end of every year. Anytime I'm talking to any audience, either live, small in Zoom, or Booster State of the Nation 3 times a year, kind of here's where we are. I try to pick a virtue or 2 or 3 and highlight them.
Okay.
Whenever we find, catch people doing good things, what gets celebrated gets reproduced.
Yeah.
So I want to find people living out actionably the virtues, either internally or externally. Tell a story about it. We have a whole Slack channel where we're telling stories of impact that are centered around virtues.
Yeah,
so
cool.
talk about it a lot. I think it was Andy Stanley that said, when you're so sick of hearing yourself talk about it, there's a chance maybe people are starting to listen.
That's right. Yeah. Amen to that. And Chris, one of the things I love about this is you and I have very similar personalities, and I have a lot of great ideas most every day. And I love to dream, and that's how God created me. And I love to see the vision of what the future could be. And then the reality of not everybody does that. And the planning of, okay, if this matters now, it'll still matter in a year, right?
Yeah.
And this matters enough to give it the runway of a year to think through that team meeting in summer of 2019, right? And
it's not just it's kind of like most likely to change. I mean, we think about the intentionality we put behind a 3-year plan or a 1-year strategy.
Sure.
Well, I hope these virtues last for a decade or 2.
Yeah.
So I need to spend as much more time thinking through our DNA than just our skin or our marketing or our year-long strategy. So this is I'm not saying it'll never change, but it will not change for at least a decade. So I should put the same attention into that I would put into anything that would last that long.
I love that. So the new book is coming out this spring. And it should be out by the time this podcast episode comes out. Remind everybody where they can get it, and give us just a little bit of an intro of the next book, if you don't mind.
Sure. ChrisCarneal.com is my website, and a lot of things you just covered: Virtue Village, Virtue Voices, Boosterthon, my book, monthly newsletter. That's an easy spot to find it. Hopefully find it on Amazon in the next couple weeks.
Okay.
Should be there. And then on choice bookshelves. So the virtue-driven business is about incorporating into our organization cultures. Here's what my business and organization does to live these out. The next book, and I'm still thinking through the details of it and taking notes, and just kind of as I live my life every day, I'm writing down something, a note or a bullet point, is the virtue-driven leader. Someone who the word business might scare them away. Well, I don't really work in a business. I'm a teacher. Or I don't really work in a business. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm a whatever. So now here's how anybody and everybody can apply these 6 virtues in the everyday of life. More of the 5 to 9, whereas the virtue-driven business is kind of the 9 to 5.
Sure.
So that's how I'm thinking through the next one.
Yeah, cool.
But I'm really passionate about the idea that vocation, calling, work, 9 to 5 or more than that for lots of us, can be a place of meaning where we feel like we can live out our life calling, our talents with business excellence, and not have to divide the sacred and secular, or even the personal and professional, but bring who we are to work for the good of others.
Can we drill down on that just for a little bit more? Right. Because there are people that are listening to this, that they hear you say that and they're like, not at my job, not at my place of business, not at my organization. I do this for the paycheck. Can you kind of drill down on that just for a second?
Sure. So, okay, I'll go again. I'm a person of faith, so let me go. I'll go a word from the Old Testament in Genesis for a second. So hang on there with me. If you don't tune me out just yet. When God created mankind, And he put in Genesis 1, 2, and 3, put man in the garden to work the garden. The word for work in the Old Testament is, and I'm not Hebrew, so I'll pronounce it probably off if someone is, but avodah. Avodah is the word for work. So we interpret that as, when you hear work, like, oh, when I drive from my house to an office or to some place and I'm having business meetings and calls and work. And in the Old Testament, the word for work meant three things. It meant the way we define work, rolling up your sleeves and getting stuff done.
Okay.
It also meant worship, and it meant service to others. So what that means is we don't have to say, I'm just working for a paycheck, but then here's the good I'll do for others on Saturday or Sunday. I believe, regardless of your culture, your boss, your environment, you can find good in the work you do because every work has dignity to it.
Amen.
So whether you're building an Excel spreadsheet, what are you doing? You're really turning chaos into order.
Yeah.
If you're coming up with an idea, you're participating in the creation process of ultimately the thriving and flourishing of others. So I feel like every bit of work has a sacredness in it. We're called to work. We're made to work. Work is hard. There's thorns and thistles in a sense,
Sure.
but I view that work was created for mankind to bless one another, not just to make a paycheck, that there is a bigger, higher meaning to it. But that doesn't mean we need to quit our jobs and go work in a nonprofit for that to happen.
Sure.
Nonprofits do great work. We should give to them and be generous. And at the same time, the daily work that people do every day, the next phone call, can, through your joy, your gratitude, your humility, the questions you ask, it can communicate love and care to people on a one-on-one basis.
I love that.
More than, sometimes more than a nonprofit could do, because the number of hours we're spending 40, 50, 60 hours a week interacting with human beings.
Yeah.
So I'm really just talking about how do we interact with ourselves and with our team and with our clients in a way that ultimately honors and respects them.
Yeah, it's just an amazing way to show dignity to someone else, right?
Yes, totally.
It's just a way for us to acknowledge the value, the intrinsic value that someone sitting next to us has, and the impact that they make. I love that. Chris, man, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for the way that you lead. Thank you for the impact you've made in my life personally. I thank you for the time again in this book. I'm excited for the opportunity to be able to read it. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today on Market Mavericks. We'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Market Mavericks. We hope you're walking away inspired and ready to take your own adventure to the next level. Don't forget to follow the show to keep up with our latest episodes. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to subscribe, share it with others who could benefit. And hey, if you know a market maverick who has a story that needs to be heard, please drop their name in the comments. We would love to bring their insights to the show. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries and leading with purpose.